you know, the MCU is not doing too great now, numbers wise. Demon Slayer did better than all comic book movies this year in the box office. Little 30 million animated movie from Japan destroyed everything in Hollywood this year. Like they've got to be shaking in their boots, I'd say, at this stage. Like that. I think didn't that Chainsaw Man movie come out and it's like doing numbers as well now. Like it's
Um,
I don't exactly know what the numbers are, but I've heard it's performing quite well. It's like
in maybe
shit.
in Japan, I think it still hasn't been released in the US yet.
Okay, well there's a lot of hype around it already. I've been
Yeah,
seeing, and that's again red flags for for poor Hollywood because it seems like the anime train's really taking off here now on the big screen, and they got to do some stuff to maybe keep up, and this could be one of them. Like let's try and get people hyped. Let's leak some stuff, see what happens. You know,
it's like story, like animation, anime, like mangas, stuff like that. The stories that they tell in those things are just so good, man. And because
it's a very dangerous thing to unleash into the Western world when Hollywood is so shaky, where it's like, hang on a second, these like animated movies are bringing out like like they're slapping with some fucking hardcore storylines and stuff, and like when we're seeing She-Hulk fucking twerking on screen and this stupid shit happening in the MCU and everything, it's like, hang on a second, I can go and watch this stuff and see epic storylines. Like, maybe I'll watch this instead. You know
yeah,
it's not a time. It's not a time for this to be happening. I'm sure they're shaking, man. I'm sure they're shaking.
yeah, but I mean, they need to be shook
Oh, they
because
do.
like we need some stuff. We need stuff. We need like
Competition is the best thing in the world, man. Because as they say, what is it? What's the saying? Like raising waters, or like growing tides raise all boats, or whatever the saying is. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, bring up the quality. Like, get some fucking real writers back in the writers' room in Marvel and DC and everything like that. 100%. Like I like the MCU. The worst thing that happened to the MCU was the absolute peak of success that they had because they got cocky and they thought we can just do anything now. And I think
eh,
I've heard I was listening to Den and Nerds talking earlier, and he was talking about how maybe he was kind of shitting on James Gunn a bit, but he was kind of saying that maybe Guardians of the Galaxy was a bit of a false flag for the comic book genre. It was a massive success. It was a widely unknown group of people and characters, and it just became this really big success. And while yes, the movie's good, I think it's James Gunn's best movie in my opinion, but I think it created a false sense of security for these companies to where they were like, Jesus, man, we can get fucking C-level characters here, and we could just pump out $1 billion. And I think they thought like, oh, let's just, and because if you think about it, that was like 2014, right? So after that, they started really getting like, Suicide Squad started doing all this like weird stuff, and now like you've got like shit like Clayface coming out and all this shit. Like people don't even know who these people are. Like, you got to be very clued into to be invested in characters like Clayface. So
mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I think like they got too comfortable, and then obviously the success of the Avengers movies and everything like that, they just think like, yeah, let's just phase 4 and phase 5 happened. I don't even need to talk about it. We know exactly what happened. And I think that they need to kind of maybe a reset. I think it's the perfect time for a reboot, to be honest. And I wouldn't be surprised if DC did get sold and did a reboot as well. Like it's like, let's just fucking start from scratch here because we need some fresh blood, both actors, writing, the whole shebang. Like let's just fucking start again because yeah, I don't know. It's I think they've gone a bit too far, especially with the MCU. When
Yeah,
we're getting stuff like Ironheart and Miss Marvel, while I like the actress, I like the character, but I don't think it warrants her getting her own show and her becoming like one of the main three in the Marvels and stuff like that. I don't think the character is that strong to be taking up that much screen time. I don't know.
yeah. No, no, you're absolutely right because they didn't really give these characters enough to work with. It's a lot of the stuff that they did up until Avengers was like one-offs.
Mhm.
They bring them in, they give them their own movie, and then they put them together, via the like after
Infinity War or
credits.
something. Yeah, yeah.
Well, like
Sorry, I know what you
before
mean.
Infinity War, like you know,
Yeah, yeah.
they
Tying
they
it
s-
together and making the
then
big fucking world.
right, and then but even then, like I think were there any second part movies before the Avengers, or was it all like first parters?
Avengers 1.
Yeah,
Iron Man had two movies, but I think that was the only one. And Iron Man, I think it made like so. If you think about it,
right,
it was kind of Nick Fury and Iron Man were the two guys who were forming the Avengers, so it kind of made sense that they had more screen time than the rest.
right.
But yeah, for the rest of them, like Thor, Cap, and all that sort of thing, it was all one movie, and then bang, they met in the middle.
Right. So then when they were trying to do the Marvels, I think that Monica Rambeau didn't really have anything to stand on because her character was kind of based upon the ending of WandaVision, which wasn't really a strong suit for her to even begin her origin story. Like I get that you know they were creating an origin story for her, but the show is called WandaVision. Nobody's going to give a shit about Monica Rambeau. Like
No,
it's going to be very much like in the dark for a while. So then, you know, we have Captain Marvel, you know, the first iteration of Captain Marvel, and I thought it was pretty decent. It wasn't the best, but it was decent. It wasn't like oh my god, but it was still good enough for me to like okay, so at least we've established this character. We, you know, we understand them a bit. And then we have Miss Marvel, and it's a TV show. And it's like, no, I think that you guys should have put her on the big screen, gave her a bit more time, and actually done the like the effects of her abilities normally as who she is,
Mhm.
not this new rendition that's like, oh, all of my powers come from a bracelet, which to me is like such a punch in the nuts because that character was so beloved by like you know like multicultural people
yeah,
and it just blew my fucking mind that they didn't think to just try to do things by the book and just you know even if it was a show like if they had done that at least we would have been like okay maybe she could be big enough to be on this on the big screen you know and then maybe give her a movie right before you do the Marvels or something because like you like with enough screen time we'll enjoy the characters because I think at the very least Captain Marvel was still kind of a likable character here and there she but like we don't know these other two characters that well. Like
yeah.
we only saw them in portions here and there. And yes, Miss Marvel got like a full show,
But
but like
no one cared about it, and it was at a
no,
stage as well where the Disney model, the Disney Plus model, had kind of already failed at that point.
yeah,
And then we get that show, and the show wasn't good. The first episode was cool. I enjoyed the first episode of the show. I liked the vibe of it. I liked how she was like kind of daydreaming in school, and her daydreams were like comic strips and stuff. I was like, this is fucking cool. And I
yeah.
know the actress is a sweaty nerd in real life, so I'm like, this is cool. She deserves to be a superhero. This is great. She is Miss Marvel. You know, like, did you ever play the Avengers game that came out a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
Storyline for that game, like
Phenomenal.
I loved how they introduced her Kamala into that story. Like that's the way they probably should have done it. Like put her somewhere into like Infinity War in a very small capacity. Like you know, she's just a little fangirl of the Avengers. She ends up meeting them somehow, and then like we get to see a little 2 minute scene of her developing her powers, and then it's like we'll come back to that later, guys. Put a pin in that. We'll be back. You know, and then you develop her more off. You know, if you want to do it on TV, then maybe do something like that. But I don't know. I think they were relying on everybody watching that show as if it was an MCU movie, and
Mhm.
you know, like the I think you know, there's probably quotes of like Bob Iger, the DC, the Disney head, like outright saying like, you know, we've got to jump on the streaming train, and you know, we got to get like a new show out. Like they wanted something new on Disney Plus every week, like to keep people by paying for the subscription, and they thought that they could just pump out crap after crap after crap, and people just eat it up. And while there was a couple of shows that I enjoy, for the most part, it's a one and done. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and I hope that you know the next Marvel. Like again, I was only in a stream earlier, and they were talking about Doomsday, and I thought to myself, like, Jesus, bro, where are we in a couple of years' time if Doomsday's not good? Where are we as a fan base then? Like,
I mean
if this
it's
movie's not good, bro, what are we gonna do?
I mean it really doesn't seem like it's going to be good. Um
I'm
it just
praying it's good. I'm praying it's going to be like, I don't think it's going to be Infinity War again. I don't think that's ever possible. I think that was the peak. I don't think we're
Mhm.
ever gonna get better than that. Not for at least 20 years until there's like a new universe fully formed and they do some fucking epic story. Like I think the only way the only way you beat that is if, in 20 years time when the IP is fully restored and they can, do all the characters and maybe properly adapt some of these storylines like the way they were intended. That's the only way they potentially beat what we've had so far. But right now, like there's no way this movie's going to be as good as Infinity War, but I'm praying it's as good as Endgame. I'm praying it's as good as like Civil War. But I don't know, man. I just there's part of me thinking, Jesus, imagine it's not. Like, where are we going to be? Like
I mean, it
the last thing I want to do is boot up this stream and start talking shit about Doomsday when the day comes. Like, I'll be so sad, man. I'll be so sad if it's not good.
it's just not excuse me, it's just not like integrating the way that it should. I think there's too many different stories that are not trying to clash together, and we've talked
Yeah,
about this multiple times.
yeah.
We're not getting the connections the way that we want. We're not getting like, all the things that we just that like in a like, I'm not trying to say we're entitled, but like at the very least we deserve to
Mm,
have the same connections that we did previously. Like, at what
mm,
point did they decide to go, okay, we're just gonna be like a flying dick in space and just try to hit whatever the fuck we can? um you know when they were going in the direction of She-Hulk, I'm like, that makes sense because now you have Jennifer Walters, you've had Bruce Banner, you can introduce She-Hulk. She-Hulk is a great character, you can bring her in, it's going to be great. And they flopped it. When they brought in Miss Marvel, it's like, great, you had Captain Marvel, that's her idol, that's something that she could represent. She can make the costume based upon the Captain Marvel design, and originally Captain Marvel was called Miss Marvel, so it fits in. But then they decide to go in the direction of feelings. Like, every single time that we had any sort of like work in progress, it got shut down by emotions. And
yeah,
yes, emotions exist in comic books, but they don't exist everywhere. They exist only after or before the combat's beginning. But they do it so hard, in like, it's unbearable. Like, you can't make your show 80% emotion, 20% combat. That's not how things work. Like, when you think of Spider-Man, what do you think? It's like, okay, shit, I just got into a fight with Aunt May. Like, imagining yourself as Peter Parker. I just got into a fight with Aunt May, but I gotta go. I got school. I got class. I don't have time to think about this shit. So then it kind of like droves off. So it's like, what the fuck was that about? It's like, well, we'll find out later. Then you have like the combats with, different characters, like maybe Chameleon pops up, or Scorpion, or Rhino, or such. Then you have the fights. Then, he comes home, he's exhausted, and it's like, hey, Ame, I'm really sorry that we had this fight. I understand that, like, you're still my, basically my guardian, and you're taking care of me. I should be more forward with you. Like, you can hear the fucking the gears are turning while he's in combat, because not only does he have to fight and like protect, New York, he's
yeah,
also got to protect the people he loves by not making them feel like they're nothing. So like, it's just this nice soup that they give us, that just, it's perfect.
yeah,
You have the conflict at the beginning, you have your combat in the middle, then you have your resolution in the end. And that's always how it works with Spider-Man. That's why Spider-Man's so good, because we can all relate to that. You're about to start your day, you're a kid, you're about to start your day, you go and you have a fight with your mother or something. You have an argument because she told you that you were supposed to do laundry, and now you're out of clean clothes because she didn't have time to take care of this. Like, well, you're my mom, like, trying to tell her like she's your mom, she's supposed to do everything. It's like, you don't understand like the exhaustion that she's giving and whatnot. And so like, throughout your day, when you're going to school, when you're working on your stuff, you're still thinking about it, right? You're still kind of like, well, shit, maybe I am a dickhead for not doing my own laundry. And then you go home, and then you start doing your laundry, and then you reconcile things with your mother, and it's like, shit, like, all I had to do was be a little bit more, so that she didn't have to worry about me. And like, it's so beautiful when stories are told that way. Lately, it's just been like, yeah, fight, combat, great, cool, and then like 6 episodes of like, man, like I want to get into a relationship so bad. Oh man, my parents are so worried about me, and I can't be a superhero if my parents are all constantly worried about me. And there's no combat. There's nothing going on. Like they're like it's the least of your worries now. Combat is the least of your worries. It's all about relationships and parents and your family and whatnot. And it's like, stop trying to feed that down my fucking throat. Let me enjoy some superhero work. There are multiple comic runs where it's like all it is nonstop, just fucking investigations, combat, and whatnot. We could totally have that.
Hey guys, this is Finto. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe and like, and let us know in the comments what you think below. See you in the next one. Bye bye.